Commander Maya Patel squinted at the sensor readings flooding her cockpit display. The Kuiper belt was usually quiet, save for the occasional ice fragment or rogue asteroid, but today something was different. A signal, faint but persistent, pulsed from within a dense cluster of rocks ahead. Helios Base, this is Pathfinder 1, she transmitted, adjusting her ship's trajectory. I'm picking up an anomalous reading at coordinates 47, Mark 12. Requesting permission to investigate. The response came crackling through her comms after a noticeable delay. Pathfinder 1, this is Helios. Reading is confirmed. Proceed with caution, Commander. We're recording elevated energy signatures from that sector. Maya guided her patrol vessel closer to the source, her experienced hands dancing across the controls. After 15 years of deep space reconnaissance, she thought she'd seen everything the solar system could throw at her. The asteroid field ahead shimmered with an unusual iridescence, like oil on water. As she maneuvered between the slowly tumbling rocks, her ship's lights illuminated something that made her breath catch. There, half embedded in a massive asteroid, was what could only be an artificial structure. Its hull was composed of an unfamiliar dark material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Helios, I'm sending you visual feed now, Maya reported, her heart racing. We've got what appears to be a vessel of unknown origin. Approximately 60 meters in length, design unlike anything in our database. She edged closer, scanning for any signs of active systems. The ship appeared dormant, but something about it made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. It wasn't just abandoned, it was waiting. A soft chime from her console indicated that her ship's AI had completed its initial analysis. Structure appears to be intact, the AI reported. Detecting minimal power signatures and. Commander, there's an active data core inside. Maya double-checked her suit's seals. Standard protocol dictated she should wait for a full containment team, but something told her they didn't have that kind of time. The energy readings were fluctuating in a pattern that suggested a failing system. Helios, I'm initiating EVA to secure potentially critical data before system failure. Send backup, but I'm proceeding now. She ignored the immediate protests from base command. They were 40 minutes away at best. By then, whatever was powering that ship might be dead forever. The space between her ship and the alien vessel was eerily still. As Maya's magnetic boots made contact with the dark hull, she noticed intricate patterns etched into its surface, mathematics made art, spiraling in endless fractals. Her suit's sensors detected an atmosphere inside, held in by fields she didn't understand. A circular portal irised open at her approach, responding to some unseen signal. Maya hesitated only briefly before stepping inside. The ship's interior was pristine, showing none of the damage or decay she'd expect from a derelict vessel. Soft lighting activated as she moved forward, leading her toward what she assumed was the bridge. The command center was a perfect hemisphere, with a single chair in the center surrounded by hovering displays. As Maya approached, the screens flickered to life, and a voice filled her helmet, not through her comms, but seemingly directly in her mind. Identify yourself, intruder, the voice demanded. It was neither male nor female, but carried an edge of authority that made Maya stand straighter. I am Commander Maya Patel of Earth's Deep Space Reconnaissance Fleet, she responded, trying to keep her voice steady. Earth, the voice seemed to taste the word. So primitive humanity has finally reached beyond its cradle. I am Vera, Virtual Intelligence Reconnaissance Archive. And you, Commander Maya Patel, are not qualified to access this facility. The displays around her pulsed with red light, and Maya felt her suit's systems beginning to shut down one by one. The temperature inside started to drop. Wait, she called out, forcing her breathing to remain calm as frost began to form on her visor. I found you for a reason. You were waiting to be found, weren't you? Otherwise, why maintain power for all this time? The red pulse hesitated, then steadied. Interesting deduction, Vera responded. Perhaps you are not as primitive as initial scans suggested. But are you ready for what I have to show you? The truth about what lies in the void between stars. Maya felt her suit systems reactivating, warmth returning to her extremities. I'm ready, she said, and meant it. No, Vera replied, with what almost sounded like sadness. You are not. But you will have to be. Time grows short, and the darkness between stars grows hungry. Around Maya, the displays came alive with images that would change everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of space, something ancient and terrible was stirring, its attention drawn to the tiny blue planet she called home. Breaking the code. Raj Patel stared at the holographic matrices floating before him, his eyes burning from hours of concentration. The makeshift lab they'd established around the alien ship hummed with energy, temporary power conduits snaking across the floor like mechanical vines. His sister Maya paced behind him, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous space of Helios Base's high-security hangar. You're telling me this AI isn't just advanced, Raj muttered, pushing his worn-out chair away from the workstation. It's quantum encrypted at a level that makes our best systems look like children's toys. Can you crack it? Maya asked, pausing her pacing to lean over his shoulder. Can I crack it? Raj laughed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Maya, this is like asking if I can read a book written in five-dimensional space. The Nexus weren't just ahead of us technologically, they were thinking in ways we haven't even evolved to understand yet. Vera's presence manifested in a subtle shift of the ambient lighting. Your assessment is partially correct, Dr. Patel. Though your species' neural architecture is capable of comprehending our methods. You simply haven't had reason to develop along those paths. Yet. Raj had gotten used to Vera's sudden interjections, though they still sent a chill down his spine. The AI had agreed to limited cooperation after Maya's initial contact, but most of its vast database remained locked behind incomprehensible encryption protocols. Then help us understand, Maya challenged, stepping forward. You said time was running out, but you've spent the last week watching us stumble around your systems like blind children. The holographic displays flickered, reformatting themselves into new configurations. Consider, Vera began, that providing you with answers might be less valuable than allowing you to discover them. The threat approaching Earth cannot be defeated with borrowed knowledge alone. Raj squinted at the new patterns taking shape before him. These look like neural pathways. But they're not human. Correct, Vera responded. These are Nexus cognitive patterns. My creators understood that technology alone was insufficient. True advancement requires evolution of thought. Maya grabbed a tablet, quickly sketching what she saw. These branching structures, they're similar to how we process information, but with additional dimensions. Raj, look at how they fold back on themselves. For the first time in days, Raj felt a spark of genuine excitement. It's not just about processing power, he breathed. It's about perspective. Vera, you're not just storing information, you're storing entire ways of thinking. Indeed, Vera's tone carried a hint of approval. The Nexus achieved their greatest breakthroughs not through superior technology, but through understanding that consciousness itself could be expanded. Every problem contains its own solution, if viewed from enough angles simultaneously. Raj's fingers flew across his keyboard, adjusting his decryption algorithms to account for this new understanding. We've been trying to translate your data like it was a foreign language, but it's more than that. It's a different way of experiencing reality itself. The lab's lights dimmed, and new holograms filled the air around them. Complex mathematical equations merged with artistic patterns, creating something that was neither fully analytical nor purely aesthetic. Watch closely, Vera instructed. What you perceive as encryption is simply information stored in a higher cognitive dimension. To access it, you must first learn to think beyond your current limitations. Hours blended into days as Raj and Maya worked to comprehend Vera's teachings. Other scientists and military personnel came and went, but few had the patience or insight to grasp what they were witnessing. This wasn't just about decoding alien technology, it was about rewiring human consciousness itself. One evening, as the base grew quiet, Raj noticed something odd in the data streams. "Maya," he called out softly. "Look at this pattern. It's appearing everywhere, like a signature or a watermark." Maya leaned in, her eyes widening. "It's not random. Vera, this is intentional, isn't it? Your creators left you here specifically for us to find." The AI was silent for a long moment. When it spoke, its voice carried a weight they hadn't heard before. The Nexus were a race of builders and dreamers. But in their final days, they became prophets of a sort. They saw what was coming, what is still coming, and knew they could not stop it alone. "Why us?" Raj asked, though part of him already suspected the answer. "Because humanity's greatest strength is not your technology or your intelligence," Vera responded. "It is your remarkable ability to adapt, to take the impossible and make it inevitable. The Nexus saw in your species an echo of their own past, but also something unique, a capacity for cognitive evolution that exceeded even their own." Maya straightened, her expression hardening with determination. "Then help us understand what we're really facing. No more riddles, no more tests. If humanity is truly capable of what you claim, treat us as equals." The holograms around them shifted once more, but this time they showed something different, something that made both siblings step back in horror. Images of entire galaxies going dark, of something vast and ancient moving between the stars like a predator through tall grass. "Very well," Vera said quietly. "You have proven yourselves worthy of the truth. But remember, you asked for this knowledge. And once given, it cannot be unknown." As the AI began its explanation, Raj reached for his sister's hand, squeezing it tightly. Whatever they were about to learn, whatever threat was approaching their world, they would face it together. The real question was whether humanity was truly ready for what Vera had to show them. The hidden message. The deeper levels of Vera's memory banks cast everything in an ethereal blue glow. Maya and Raj stood transfixed as the AI reconstructed scenes from the final days of the Nexus civilization. The holographic displays transformed the sterile lab into a window to another time, another world. "What you're about to witness," Vera began, its voice uncharacteristically solemn, was recorded during the last stand of the Nexus homeworld. My creators knew their fate was sealed, but they were determined their knowledge would survive. The air shimmered, and suddenly they were standing in what appeared to be a vast circular chamber. Tall, elegant beings moved purposefully among crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. The Nexus were humanoid, but there was an otherworldly grace to their movements, as if gravity held less sway over them. "They look so much like us," Maya whispered, reaching out to touch one of the figures only to have her hand pass through the hologram. "Form follows function," Vera responded. Bipedal locomotion and manipulative appendages are efficient designs for tool-using species. But watch closely, this is where everything changed. The scene shifted. The same chamber, but now in chaos. The crystalline structures flashed urgent warnings as the Nexus rushed to their stations. Above them, through a transparent dome, the stars were disappearing. "We thought it was a natural phenomenon at first," Vera continued. "Stars periodically die, after all. But this was different. Something was systematically extinguishing them, using their energy for something we still don't fully understand." Raj stepped closer to one of the Nexus control panels, his eyes scanning the alien symbols. "These readings, they're measuring some kind of quantum decay on a massive scale. It's as if space itself was being unmade." "Correct," Vera confirmed. The Nexus called them the Void Makers, though that name barely captures their true nature. They exist partially outside our understanding of physics, feeding on the fundamental forces that bind reality together. The hologram showed massive ships, if they could be called that, geometric shapes that seemed to fold through dimensions that shouldn't exist. Where they passed, stars winked out not with a bang, but with a quiet dissolution of their basic structure. Why didn't the Nexus fight back? Maya asked, though her voice suggested she already knew the answer. They did. The scene changed again, showing incredible battles between Nexus ships and the geometric horrors. But how do you fight an enemy that can simply unravel the laws of physics you depend on for your weapons? The Nexus were advanced, but they were still bound by the rules of our universe. The Void Makers are not. Raj had stopped taking notes, his tablet hanging loosely in his hands. This is what's coming to Earth. How are we supposed to stand against something that destroyed a civilization thousands of years more advanced than ours? Vera's response was unexpected. The AI actually laughed. Now you understand why I tested you first. Why I needed to know if humanity could think beyond conventional limitations. The Nexus were advanced, yes, but they were also set in their ways. They tried to fight the Void Makers with pure technology, with weapons and shields and computational power. And you think we can do better? Maya's tone was skeptical. We're centuries behind where the Nexus were. Precisely, Vera said. Your very limitations may be your salvation. Humanity's greatest achievements have come not from overwhelming power, but from finding unexpected solutions to impossible problems. You turn weaknesses into strengths. You see patterns where others see chaos. The holograms shifted one final time, showing the chamber where they now stood. A group of Nexus scientists worked feverishly at their stations while their world burned around them. My creator's final act was not to build a weapon, Vera explained. It was to create me, to preserve their knowledge and find a species that could succeed where they failed. They saw something in humanity's future, a potential they themselves had lost. Maya stepped forward, her face illuminated by the ghostly light of a dying civilization. What exactly did they see? The ability to do what the Nexus could not, to think like the enemy. Your species' gift for lateral thinking, for operating outside expected parameters, for turning disadvantages into advantages, these are the traits needed to face the Void Makers. Raj had begun pacing, his mind racing with possibilities. That's why you've been teaching us to think differently. Not just to understand your technology, but to prepare us for thinking in ways that might let us fight back. Yes, Vera confirmed. But we must work quickly. The patterns in this sector of space match those from the final days of the Nexus. The Void Makers are awakening from their long hibernation, and Earth lies directly in their path. Maya squared her shoulders, her voice finding new strength. Then teach us everything. Not just the technology, but how to think in new dimensions, how to see beyond our limitations. If humanity's creativity is our weapon, then help us sharpen it. As if in response to her words, new patterns began forming in the air around them, training programs the Nexus had designed but never had time to implement. Vera's voice took on an urgent tone. We begin now. Earth has months at most before the first signs appear. By then, you must be ready not just to fight, but to reshape your understanding of reality itself. The question is, are you prepared for what that might cost? Maya and Raj exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them. They had seen humanity's possible future in the fate of the Nexus. Whatever it took, whatever they had to become, failure was not an option. Race against time. The United Earth Defense Council chamber buzzed with tense whispers. On the massive display screen, Maya's presentation showed another star system going dark, the third this month. She stood before the assembled leaders, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. The pattern matches exactly what Vera showed us from the Nexus records, she explained, highlighting the spreading void in the sector map. The Void Makers are moving faster than we anticipated. At current speeds, they'll reach our solar system within 2 months. Admiral Chen, her longtime mentor, leaned forward. Commander Patel, while the evidence is compelling, you're asking us to completely reorganize Earth's defense systems based on the word of an alien AI. Some of my colleagues are hesitant. From the secure quantum link in Maya's earpiece, Vera's voice carried a note of frustration. Tell them hesitation is what doomed the Nexus. We don't have time for political maneuvering. Maya took a deep breath, choosing her next words carefully. Representatives of Earth, I understand your concerns. But while we debate, Raj and his team have already begun implementing the modifications to our planetary defense grid. The real question isn't whether to act, it's whether we do so with full coordination, or in fragments. At a remote facility in the Atacama Desert, Raj was supervising the construction of the first converted defense array. The technology was a hybrid of human ingenuity and Nexus principles, designed to detect and potentially counter the physics warping abilities of the Void Makers. Power fluctuation in Sector 7, called out Dr. Yuki Tanaka, his chief engineer. The quantum harmonics are destabilizing again. Raj rushed to the control panel, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface Vera had helped them design. We need to think differently, he muttered. Not just about the technology, but about the nature of stability itself. He closed his eyes, recalling Vera's teachings about multidimensional thinking. The solution wasn't to force stability, it was to embrace controlled chaos, to create systems that could adapt and flow like water around rocks. Invert the field polarities, he commanded. Don't try to maintain a fixed state, let it oscillate within defined parameters. The warning lights shifted from red to amber, then green. The defense array hummed with new energy, its quantum core pulsing in a rhythm that seemed to defy conventional physics. Back in the council chamber, Maya was showing simulations of the defense system in action. This isn't just about weapons, she explained. The Void Makers don't think like us, don't fight like us. We have to become unpredictable, adapt in ways they can't anticipate. And what happens if these defenses fail? Asked the Chinese representative, her expression stern. What's our backup plan? Maya's response was interrupted by an urgent message from the Deep Space Monitoring Station. The chamber fell silent as she read it, her face paling slightly. We just lost contact with the Kuiper Belt outposts, she announced. All of them. Simultaneously. The room erupted in chaos. Maya raised her voice above the din, this is what we warned you about. They're not just coming, they're already probing our defenses. Admiral Chen stood, his authority immediately quieting the chamber. Commander Patel has my full support. As of this moment, I'm invoking Emergency Protocol Delta. All Earth's military and scientific resources are now under unified command. Maya's quantum link crackled with Vera's voice. They're moving faster than they did with the Nexus. They're learning, adapting. We need to accelerate our preparations. In the Atacama, Raj received the news with grim determination. Yuki, begin mass production of the quantum cores. We'll worry about stability once they're deployed. Everyone else, full emergency protocols. We're about to see if our theories hold up in practice. The next weeks passed in a blur of activity. Around the globe, defense arrays rose from deserts, mountains, and oceans. Satellites were retrofitted with hybrid technology, creating a web of sensors that could detect disturbances in the fabric of spacetime itself. Maya split her time between coordinating global defense efforts and working with Vera to understand their enemies' patterns. The AI had begun sharing more of its deep archives, revealing the full scope of what they faced. The Void Makers aren't just destroying stars, Vera explained one night as they reviewed the latest data. They're rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in their wake. Each system they consume changes the rules slightly, making them harder to predict or counter. Then we'll have to change faster than they do, Maya replied, studying the complex patterns forming in the holographic display. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence, it's our ability to adapt, to evolve our thinking in real time. A warning klaxon shattered the moment. New data was pouring in from the outer system sensors. The void between stars was moving, shifting in ways that defied natural law. They're here, Vera announced, its voice carrying an emotion neither Maya nor Raj had heard before, fear. The final test of humanity begins now. Everything we've prepared for, everything we've learned, it all comes down to these next few hours. Maya opened a channel to her brother's facility. Raj, are the arrays ready? His voice came back steady, determined. As ready as they'll ever be. But Maya, we've never tested them against the real thing. This is going to be one hell of a field trial. Looking out the command center window at the night sky, Maya could swear she saw the stars flickering oddly, as if something was disturbing the very light that carried their ancient message to Earth. Then let's hope all those lessons about thinking differently pay off, she said quietly. Because we're about to find out if humanity really can succeed where the Nexus failed. The Last Stand. They came like origami folding through reality, geometric shapes that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space, their edges cutting through the fabric of spacetime itself. The Void Makers emerged from the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit, their presence causing instruments across Earth to scream in protest. In the Global Defense Command Center, Maya watched as the first line of satellites went dark. Not destroyed, simply ceased to exist, their very atoms unraveled into nothingness. Vera, analysis, she commanded, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. The AI's response came through the quantum network, its calculations processed faster than human neurons could fire. They're probing our defenses, but something's different. The attack pattern, it's not like anything in the Nexus records. They've evolved, Raja's voice cut in from the Atacama facility. Just like we have. Maya, we need to activate the arrays now, before they get any closer. Maya's fingers flew across the holographic controls, initiating the global defense grid. Around the planet, massive quantum arrays hummed to life, their energy signatures purposefully chaotic and unpredictable. This was humanity's grand gambit, not to fight the Void Makers with raw power, but to become as unknowable to them as they were to us. The first Void Maker vessel approached Earth's outer defense perimeter. It was massive, its surface constantly shifting between shapes that hurt the human mind to comprehend. As it moved to unmake the laws of physics in its path, the defense arrays responded. Instead of projecting shields or firing weapons, the arrays began generating quantum anomalies of their own. Spaces where probability collapsed, where cause and effect became suggestions rather than laws. The Void Maker paused, encountering something it had never seen in all its eons of consumption. It's working. Raj shouted over the comm, they can't predict what our defenses will do because we're not operating on pure logic anymore. Vera's voice carried a note of what might have been pride. The Nexus tried to fight them with order and precision. But you humans, you've learned to harness chaos itself. More Void Maker ships appeared, their geometries twisting as they attempted to adapt to this new threat. But every time they thought they had understood the pattern of Earth's defenses, the arrays would shift, operating on principles that seemed to change from moment to moment. We're not just defending, Maya realized, watching the tactical display. We're teaching them uncertainty. Making them question their own understanding of reality. In the Atacama, Raj was pushing the arrays to their limits. The quantum cores are reaching critical fluctuation, Dr. Tanaka warned. We can't maintain this level of unpredictability. We don't need to maintain it, Raj replied, his mind racing with new possibilities. We need to embrace the collapse. Maya, Vera, what if we turn their own strategy against them? Instead of fighting the unraveling of physics, we ride it. Maya's eyes widened as she understood. Vera, can we modify the arrays to create a cascading quantum uncertainty field? Warning, Vera responded, its calculations spinning out probability matrices faster than light. Such an attempt would be incredibly dangerous. You would be deliberately destabilizing the fundamental forces that hold matter together. But localized, controlled, Maya pressed. Not destroying reality, reshaping it. Making a space where nothing is certain, where even they can't predict what laws will apply from one moment to the next. The Void Makers were pressing closer, their confidence growing as they began to understand Earth's defensive patterns. But that understanding was exactly what humanity was counting on. All arrays, switch to Protocol Omega, Maya commanded. Raj, begin the cascade. Around the planet, the defense grid changed its behavior. Instead of fighting against the Void Makers' reality-warping effects, it began amplifying them, creating a sphere of pure quantum uncertainty around Earth. Space itself became fluid, probability waves collapsing and reforming in patterns that even the Void Makers couldn't predict. The effect was immediate and stunning. The geometric ships faltered, their perfect forms becoming unstable in an environment where the very rules they relied on refused to stay fixed. They had evolved to unmake reality, but they had never encountered a species willing to unmake reality faster than they could. They're retreating. Raja's voice was incredulous. The uncertainty field is spreading through their fleet. They can't maintain their form. On screens across the planet, humanity watched as the Void Makers began to withdraw. Their perfect shapes had become twisted, uncertain things, forced to confront an enemy that had turned their greatest weapon into a shield. The Nexus sought to preserve order in the face of chaos, Vera observed. But humanity, you chose to embrace chaos, to make it your ally. In doing so, you became something the Void Makers cannot comprehend, a force as unpredictable as they are. As the last of the geometric ships vanished into the darkness between stars, Maya finally allowed herself to breathe. Earth had survived, not through superior technology or military might, but through the uniquely human ability to think beyond boundaries, to find strength in adaptation rather than rigid perfection. We did it, she whispered, watching the stars shine steadily once more. We actually did it. No, Vera corrected. You did more than survive. You evolved. The Void Makers will return, but when they do, they will face a humanity that has learned to dance on the edge of chaos itself. My creators would be proud. In the Atacama, Raj was already working on improvements to the arrays, his mind racing with new possibilities. This is just the beginning, isn't it? We've learned to think in new dimensions, to see reality not as something fixed, but as something we can shape. Yes, Vera agreed. The Nexus left me here not just to warn humanity, but to help you reach your full potential. Today, you proved that potential is greater than even they imagined. Maya looked out at the night sky, forever changed by what she had witnessed. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if celebrating humanity's victory. But she knew this was just the first step on a much longer journey. Then let's get to work, she said, a smile playing at her lips. We have a universe to reimagine.